We literally just data-mined a brand new Dragon Knighting mount called the Grotto Netherwing Drake that is already on the PTR. Then we have interviews from Blizzard confirming a new encrypted Dragonflight is coming. This is on their official channel. We have interviews where they say that Dragonflight offshoots such as the Netherwing are going to return to join in on the Dragon Isles drama. Even more interestingly, a lot of Netherwing dragons are purple, which really matches the mysterious 6th dragon aspect that has been hinted at for a while now. Furthermore, the mount is called Grotto, meaning a cave, which could mean that this might have been an original creation of Altarian from his grotto, which is also a huge lore hint. So what is this new 6th dragon riding Drake, and are we really going to get the 6th Dragonflight and possibly a new Netherwing aspect? If you guys are looking to buy Dragonflight or anything Warcraft related, Gamivo has some amazing sales that you can check out with my link. On top of that, you can get software, gift cards, various games at crazy prices. Best of all, you can use my code DORON to add yet another discount to your purchase, so make sure to click my link below, check out Gamivo, and grab some amazing deals. So, this is not a speculation whatsoever. We not only got multiple official interviews from Blizzard that are actually quite recent, where they talked about a new unconfirmed Dragonflight, then in another they specifically mentioned the Netherwing Dragons, and ultimately, we have literally data mined an item called the Grotto Netherwing Drake. So, the first interview we got was in regards to story development on the Dragon Isles, and they say essentially this. Dragon types you can discovered over the years, Twilight Dragonflight, Stone Drakes of Deepholm, Storm Drakes of the Broken Isles, and some of these groups hold resentment over not being included in the main Dragonflights. Players should expect some of these, like the Netherwing Dragonflight, to be involved in the drama on the Dragon Isles. Keep in mind, they mentioned a bunch of these Dragonflights that we had encountered over the years, but they specifically pointed out Netherwing Dragons and said that we should expect them, and when we combine this with the Dragon Riding mount, this is essentially a confirmation. I really don't see another scenario. Now, you probably know Netherwings, you have seen them through the regular mounts, you probably remember them from TBC, but who are they really? Their lore is decently developed, but much of the other lore, it has never really been fully finished, and a big chunk of it has kind of been left in ambiguity. We don't really know what their state is. However, we do of course know who the Netherwing Dragons are. They do have some developed lore. To spare you a really long lore lesson, Deathwing some years ago made a deal to go to Outland and to transport his eggs there of the corrupted Black Dragonflight. The original intent was to safeguard them, but his real plan was to conquer Outland and to have 2 worlds he would control, which would obviously be a significant asset to him. Now, these eggs that he left were significantly affected when Ner'zhul goofed around and just blew up the entirety of Draenor. The entire planet was destroyed, and not only is it still floating in the Twisting Nether, but it was also infused by a bunch of random Twisting Nether energies. As you probably already know, Twisting Nether is generally related to demons, to fel magic, but at the same time, it is also just an overall chaotic place of all the cosmological energies. This is where the light and the void clashed originally, but it is important to know that other than fel, we know Arcane is also present in the Twisting Nether. Blizzard actually confirmed this. Well, from this name, naturally, we got the Nether Dragons, so Twisting Nether, Nether Dragons, literally corrupted Black Dragon eggs infused by the floating Nether energies, and from this mess, you would guess their existence was a mess as well, in much the same way, and you would be right. They were naturally confused about who they were. Some embraced the dark legacy of Deathwing and saw themselves as his children, his rightful heirs. Some rejected it, some were super aggressive, some were friendly, some were enslaved, some were defeated, and at this point in time we know most of them are in fact gone. What they all had in common was a weird look. A lot of them were purple, which I'll get to in a minute, as I think this is crucial to the other Dragonflight hints, but most of them as adults were translucent and were very different looking than any other dragon we had seen so far. In fact, some of these Netherwing Dragons actually managed to reach Azeroth. Some were brought to the Nexus to communicate with the Blue Dragonflight, and do you remember that Blizzard said that the Blue Dragonflight will be relevant in 10.1, but they made a mess there, and some of the other Netherwing Dragons were brought to the Blackrock Caverns, where they were used as a power source to transform the Worthy into the Dracnet. However, the biggest confusion right now is that the dragon eggs were not even that numerous to begin with. A lot of them were enslaved, defeated, and by the Chronicle books we were told they are mostly destroyed, yet there are heavy hints that they will be returning as soon as 10.1.5, which could literally be announced in a week, and I could definitely see multiple scenarios. So first hints that we have is the most recent interview from a bit more than a week ago. Blizzard on their official YouTube channel told us Galakrond is going to return soon. We will get Brillance and Green Dragonflight Dragonflight storylines, and most importantly, they hinted that a new encrypted Dragonflight is coming, and at that point in time they didn't really wanna explain any further. Well, from a few weeks ago, we data mined a literal new 6th Dragon Riding Drake called the Grotto Netherwing Drake. We can't really see what it looks like now, but this is an obvious new Dragon Riding mount. I mean, it literally says Dragon Riding mount in the item description, and the most recent info showed us that this might be a part of the trading post, but not even that is 100% certain, as they've been kinda adding and unlinking this thing this past month, so it is kind of floating around in the air, but it is actually in the game. So really, at this point in time, it is not a speculation of whether we will get the Netherwing Dragons, but it is just how it is going to happen. Are we going to get a big storyline of the Netherwings coming from Outland, or is this going to just be a kind of quick black Dragonflight skin, as after all, they are just an offshoot of them, just infused with different energies. Personally, I'm almost 100% certain that this is not just going to be a random skin, as they literally told us in the first interview that these offshoot Dragonflights are coming, specifically mentioning the Nether ones, and saying how they will get in on the drama that is currently going on the Dragon Isles. So naturally, this means that they have planned a pretty big storyline, or at least some sort of a storyline. Keep in mind, a big part of 10.1 specifically is the Black Dragonflight, the Blue Dragonflight, and the legacy of Deathwing, and how they're going to go forward. Well, these guys are essentially Black Dragons. They're not really all that different from Sabellian, who is also from Outland, and he recently returned. We don't really even know what he did in Outland all these years. We just know that he managed to conquer the Blade's Edge Mountains and to rule the zone for a while. It is possible that these guys could be his allies, or that he discovered a new patch that we didn't see in the past, or these could be those from Outland that also heard the call similar to Sabellian, and now they want their own piece of the pie. However, I don't really see where else they can come from, since we were told most of them were destroyed, so they're really not that numerous, not that significant. Although we might not need all that much, because I mean, we literally have Black Dragons and you can pretty much count them on one hand, at least the influential ones. The other possible scenario is that we could discover the Nether Dragons in Aberrus in the Starala Caverns, and these could be the original ones. The ones we saw in Outland could probably be like a version 2, similar to how Deathwing created the original Shadow Flame magic in Aberrus, and then like thousands and thousands of years later we saw Nefarian trying to recreate his experiments, but it's pretty much just like a different version. It's like a scuffed version. The Netherwings were not really created on purpose. It's more like they were just collateral damage from the unexpected explosion of Draenor, but it is entirely possible that Neltharion had created the original ones on purpose in a pretty similar process. We literally have his experiments in Aberrus from 10.1, where he infused beings with the Void, he infused beings with Arcane, in fact so much Arcane that they almost turned into the Undead. What difference does it really make whether dragons were infused by energy from a planet exploding, or from a guy literally just using his machinery to infuse them with the exact same energy? I would say it's akin to someone using so much spell that he turns into a demon, or just someone going through a ritual on purpose. A different approach, but pretty much the exact same outcome. Furthermore, the fact that a lot of the younger Netherwing dragons are purple is super interesting. We have so many of these speculations, as we have been getting hints of a 6th Dragonflight pretty much since the Dragonflight Alpha. There is that artwork of that mysterious purple dragon that no one has talked about, no one knew anything about. There is a seed for a 6th Dragonflight and a seed of the aspects that is missing, so apparently there is room for one more. There is some insignia that is missing related to dragons. Most recent hint from 10.1, we got 5 versions of Altarian Sword, all in the colors of the Dragonflights, with the last one being purple, which could also be related to this. Furthermore, keep in mind, the name of this mount is the Grotto Netherwing Drake. The Grotto part might remind you of something from the Emerald Dream, which is also a possibility, as we're more than likely going to go there soon. But think about it, what is a grotto? A cave, usually an artificial one in the actual definition of the word. We're literally going into a huge cave with multiple smaller caves where Neltharion artificially added all this machinery, all these laboratories. I think the fact that the mount is called a Grotto Netherwing Drake is a huge hint, because I really don't see how the grotto part refers to the Outland ones. It's not called a Netherwing Drake, it's a Grotto one, so it is entirely possible that this new dragon fight is going to be related to Netherwing dragons, and we might be getting a new dragon riding mount as soon as 10.1.5. Thank you for watching. Check out the actual confirmation of Galakrond in the near future by clicking on the screen, and check out the Ron's Academy for videos on real world history. See you next time.